he's definitely, I consider, our hidden boss player around here. He's leveled up for these last few months, man. It's been exciting to see.
Yeah, and one thing about Spike that's very interesting to see is how his progression as a player has come in terms of his character diversity, where he might have been more Falcon towards the beginning of Quarantine, but now he's kind of started to sway towards Roy, which has helped his style. And plus, playing double Roy with Stain in doubles all the time has to keep those skills sharp.
Well, a lot of people say this, and I kind of understand where they're coming from, but Roy is kind of Captain Falcon with just a sword. They're both kind of like really explosive. But I mean, in this particular matchup, like having the ability to have like a sword to be able to have disjoints is really helpful against Ness, because that's one thing Ness struggles against.
Yeah, and one thing I'm looking to see in this matchup is how Stage spaces his options around the safer pokes from Jonestly, like his PK Fire. This battle for center stage is going to be massive in this matchup.
We've gone with the classic PS2 starter.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? You don't want to strike this early on. Too much thinking.
Honestly, this stage is pretty good for both characters, honestly.
Yeah, and right now, what I'm seeing right now is Jonestly is just kind of feeling out the options from Spike. A lot of run up and shields, and then come in with that Nair lane on everything and see what we're going on. But right now, it does feel like it's anyone's game, and I'm more afraid of Roy on the ledge right now when he's holding the center position.
Well, I know Spike to be very aggressive, so like it'll be interesting to see like how often he actually goes off stage against Ness, which sometimes can be risky, but that's just the kind of play style he has.
Right, it's very high risk, but very high reward as well. When he does win on those gambles, it can put him in a great technical Spike in that situation. But when he does win those gambles, he does put him in a pretty commanding lead.
I mean, yeah, that's always been Ness's big weakness. As Jonestly gets the Nair right there to take Spike's first stop.
Yeah, and what we can see almost like the top of the dancing blade, but
ooh, I like that PK Thunder right there.
Yeah, Jonestly's defensive options have been pretty good to see so far throughout this set, and that's one thing that I do want to see him kind of expound upon as he gets this extra credit on Spike.
Yeah, if you're Spike right now, you're trying to finish this stock off as fast as you can.
Oh, for sure. This is not a position you want to be in, and I don't think these Blazers in this position are a little bit risky right now. Because if you whiff, you can get punished pretty hard by Ness.
Oh yeah, Ness just has too many buttons, and I know he's trying to escape some of these options, but it's kind of also scary. Yeah, all right, the run up F tilt will always do it for you.
Unfortunately, when you're at 100 plus, 150 plus %, that Roy F tilt's going to take you out no matter where you're standing on the stage. But good job by Jonestly keeping up a solid 80%. Like we said, looking to build that extra credit, but like you mentioned earlier, Spike's aggression is almost just carrying him in this match to keep that. I spoke too soon. Spoke too soon.
Yeah, that was a good placement, but like it doesn't really seem that simple as it was. Oh, he just went down and down smash, but like he waited for the drift on Spike's recovery.
Yeah, it was a multi-player approach where he gimped him with the PK Thunder tail and then forced a decision and covered it with that yo-yo. So very smart play by Jonestly. Looks like a little bit of a fail conversion on that jab there too. So right now, if you're Spike, how do you kind of rein back in this game to gain control?
I mean, Roy's one of those characters that can make comebacks like this. Like you see the stream just going, it's just like I don't think he's worried at all. I know he just needs to, keep on playing his game.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, a sword is a sword is a sword. A disjoint is massive in any matchup, no matter what you're looking at. And I think Spike is looking at great ways to capitalize on that.
I mean, this game is already back to even, really.
Yeah, and a stray hit from Roy is pretty scary, especially in this situation. Ooh. Close.
Yeah, when you're caught off stage by PK Fire, it's very hard to be able to exit out of that.
Yeah, and so if you're... What stages are you looking to try and take advantage of if you are Spike?
I didn't get to hear what Jonestly banned, but I think I heard
Smashville and Kalos were his takeaways.
I would do Town and City, honestly. I feel like that's a good Roy stage.
Yeah.
I know that gets a lot of Ness to like float around, but
But at the same time, that's the same amount of space for Roy to dash in. Running it back to PS2, I don't disagree with this decision at all. Spike was very close to taking it that game and immediately starting off by swinging with a heavy tempo.
I agree. I don't really think the stage was the problem there. I just feel like both players played really well game one, and so this game is Spike is just on a fury right now.
So this is what I kind of mentioned earlier when you think about these first to fives. Spike had his time to take those habits from game one and adjust his playstyle to it. He hasn't taken a hit yet.
Yeah, that was playing like a death right there.
Yeah, he's playing like a man possessed, but can't count Jonestly out yet. A player of this caliber will absolutely know how to pick you apart for even the slightest mistake.
Yeah, Jonestly's a very smart player. He's been at this for a while. Wow, that was a great frame there right there.
Wow.
And Spike is just on fire this game. You know, it's hot here in Georgia during the summer, but it's hot right now.
With that Blazer, you have to respect Spike, especially with how aggressively he's playing with this tempo. You have to give him some distance. Kind of give yourself some area to breathe and think through Spike just swinging at you.
Yeah, like I said earlier, like this matchup can be kind of difficult for it's a little bit easier than a character like Lucina, but like this matchup can be really bad because just going from Roy's sword just makes it really hard for Ness to be able to just throw out stuff, and like, wow, that is a complete mix-up of games right there where game one was super close to, that game was completely dominated by Spike, and I feel like a lot of momentum came from the 0 to death into also the second stock going to the dare. It's just like, it was all Spike that game.
Yeah, and one thing that you notice from Spike is that he shifted his momentum, and once he felt that he had any type of lead, he choked out every defensive option from Jonestly, something that he did very well during game one. So now going to small battlefield, essentially tighter PS2, I don't know what the game plan is from Jonestly. What do you expect to see here, Street?
I just think he knows that he might need to slow the momentum down a little bit. Like, you know, that game was really that fast, and the thing about game one is like he kind of controlled the tempo more, and I think if he just goes back to that tempo where it's like, okay, let me stay with my defensive options, don't let me just throw out moves, I need to be more cautious about what I'm doing. He should be fine this game.
Yeah, and one thing that I like to see right now is how Jonestly's kind of waiting for Spike to swing and then punish the second option that's coming out. Knowing that he's going to swing, whether it's an advantage or disadvantage, does create that second level of Yomi as a Ness player.
I agree. Like, you know, both of these characters really have safe aerials, but like waiting, you know, for them to do that punishable move is what you really need to do in order to like be able to punish, you know, them just swinging on your shield.
Yeah, and one thing, I don't know if you've noticed this recently, but what Spike has been doing is he's threatening on stage with an empty hop, coming back to stage, and then immediately protecting the ledge. Just like that.
Well, it gets the idea of a threat, like, you know, he's like, hey, maybe I might come out here. Maybe one time he'll actually will, because, you know, sometimes it just gives you there, like, okay, he might come out, but he keeps on doing this, and then that one time he'll go out there.
Absolutely. And what I want to see from Jonestly as well is kind of juggling Roy a little bit more. There's, I feel like, very linear landing options in this matchup, especially on this stage as Roy. So seeing Jonestly capitalize on that would be kind of a landmark decision in this matchup right now.
Yeah, Roy kind of struggles to like land when he's up in the air. A lot of times, you know, you see like Roy's do like reverse side B or whatever to like kind of shift their momentum. But yeah, and he went real deep for that, but he was able to make it back thanks to that tech.
Again, like you said, it's just the threat of Spike saying, hey, I might swing at you off stage, I might not, but just know that I'm in this area. Good closure from Jonestly so far, and now we just want to see how he extends his advantage state.
And see, that stock right there was Jonestly just being really patient. He saw that he was being down tilted, and then eventually Spike did this forward tilt, which is really unsafe on shield, and then he was able to punish him for that. So he's just waiting it out.
And even right now, Jonestly kind of doing what we mentioned earlier. He's juggling Spike a very good bit right now, waiting for him to swing, punish the second option, and not being too afraid of him off stage, giving Spike the respect that he's earned.
Yeah, Spike's trying to go for a lot of those chair conversions, but Jonestly's DIing up in all those situations, so I'm not sure if he going to be able to get a lot of those, especially at this position he's at. But he was able to get that stop.
Ooh, almost.
Yeah.
But good conversion from Jonestly. So, in terms of what we saw this game, was Jonestly took very good advantage of pushing Spike into the air, holding him there, but also giving him a little bit of respect that he almost lacked in that game too, where Spike just stole advantage and ran away with it.
And that's really good mental. Like, that's how you know when someone's a really high top level players that like they're not rattled by what happened the previous game. They're like, okay, learn from whatever mistakes I made, and like, okay, let's go on to the next game. Like that, there's only one out of a first of 5, you know, so you gotta keep it moving.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you see that Spike takes him back to PS2, I think he's trying to get back that momentum, that try to swing the tempo back in his favor, and can't go for these risky reads, even if we are trying to take that big gamble early.
And I almost finished it right there, but Jonestly able to live that. Try to go for the trump there. Something that I haven't really seen him do all set yet.
No, and that is a very good mix-up from Spike. I think the trump can be a very valuable tool for Roy in this matchup because people tend to jump in disadvantage when you get trumped like that. So that could be a great way for Spike to rip off a kill easily. But again, keeping Ness in the air is a two-sided coin. Jonestly has a couple ways he can land, but Spike has a massive disjoint that can punish that behavior.
Yeah, the other thing about the ledge trump too is like even if you don't get it, it's really a conditioning tool. The ability like, hey, I can do this, you know, then it kind of forces you like to get up from ledge faster than you probably want to.
Absolutely. Now, I have to shout out my wife real quick. She brought me my controller even though I forgot it at home, so I have to run outside and grab my controller really quickly. I will be right back.
All right, folks, doing a little bit solo commentary. And Spike's able to get the first stock off this game. But this is still anyone's game at this point. Jonestly really trying to make sure he hurries him and get the stock killing. Ooh, puts a little bit too many buttons right there. And we can see right here, Jonestly trying to get a lot of stage control right now. But man, it's really hard when you think about Roy's disjoints. Like, this character really struggles against sorties, and once you're off stage once, it's kind of a scary position for Jonestly, but being less trapped right now. I like the use of that PK Magnet, kind of just, you know, shift the momentum a little bit. Yeah, that's another, you know, like Dux was saying earlier, where like both characters kind of struggle when they're being juggled. And that might be the name of the game when we talk about these two characters in this matchup. Yeah, Spike was ready for that one. He did that earlier. He was ready, shielded, then down tilted. Gotta be able to punish, you know, certain stuff that you've been doing in set, because this is the first of 5, so you're gonna be seeing the same things over and over. Still anyone's game though. We're on the last stock of this game 4, first of 5. Ooh, good counter. Even if it didn't hit, the idea that, you know, not get punished by Ness's up B is really huge. Try to call out the jump from ledge there, but then there was no go right there. There's a couple times that Jonestly's called out the air dodge on Spike for that with neutral special. Got the sour spot on that S smash. Tried to empty hop into the up air, but ooh, got on with the down tilt, up tilt.
All right.
So now Jonestly's up 3-1.
So it looks like it was another close game.
Oh yeah, it was back and forth. Honestly, you know, for both of these players' mentality, none of them should really feel like they have a big advantage right now. If I'm Spike right now, I'm keeping it level-headed. Like, you know, there was a couple of those games where one thing went his way, he probably could have won. So
yeah, it's not about, how should I put it, losing your composure in those moments. It's adapting over those mistakes. It's how you take those slight losses and convert them into success in the future.
Right. And earlier, when you weren't here, there was a couple of stuff that happened game one that they attempted to do last game, and both players were punished for it because they were ready for it. Like Jonestly tried to PK Thunder at ledge again to like get there safely, and Spike was ready for it and was able to shield and down tilt.
Yeah. And you know what? It's good to see that both players are adapting. I think that is the hallmark of one of these higher caliber players. You don't get into this type of invitational by being your average run-of-the-mill player who got lucky. So,
no, these are all skilled players here. They've all shown what they're capable of the last couple of months.
See, that was a great conversion by Spike. I like how he may not have landed that conversion consistently in the past, but he still feels okay going to this.
You gotta do what you're comfortable with, and so I think also it's a percentage thing. So I think once it gets too high, especially since like Ness is floaty.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you have to play the matchup, but also I think one thing that's not very much talked about in this situation is playing the person in front of you. And Spike and Jonestly definitely have a history in this scene. Definitely know each other and their play styles. So it is good to see how this, despite being a round one, is already so interesting and so close.
Oh yeah, this is a great way to start off this tournament. Ooh, this red, try to end there with an aerial right there. It's like got hit with the S smash.
Yeah, I think it was a good thing that he jumped. One thing that I could see Spike working in is an empty jump to call out the air dodge, fast falling, and then punishing that landing option.
Now that was interesting what I just saw from Spike there. He was pressing down to low profile. I'm not sure what exactly he was trying to do right there, but maybe it's turn around, good DI.
Barely.
Yeah, if you ever played Jonestly here, you've probably been hit by one of those a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, no shortage of talented Ness players in the state of Georgia. You have Coda, you have Jonestly, even Rincon, very talented as well.
But yeah, these aren't Wi-Fi Nesses around here.
Absolutely. So, right now, Street, we see that Spike's in a pretty commanding position right now, as long as he doesn't get converted on in that situation. I'm not going to jinx it too much, but if he closes out this stock, do you see the tempo swinging a little bit back in Spike's favor?
Well, I think both players right now feel pretty good. I mean, obviously they want to try to end it as fast as they can. Yeah, Roy with Rage right now is pretty scary. Like, Jonestly can just not get the kill.
Yeah, absolutely. See, this... So we're seeing with the same bands of FD and Yoshi's. Do we see a small battlefield return on a stage where John looked pretty dominant throughout the course of the game, or would you see something, maybe, never mind, we're just going back and forth between Pokemon Stadium 2 and small battlefield at this point?
I don't disagree with the pick because honestly, like, he really did dominate the last time they were on there, and I feel like, honestly, Ness, like, really is good on the platforms. Like, being able to angle PK Fire, be able to, like, get your opponents stuck in the air, like, it's really good.
Yeah, and one thing that I will mention is that I feel like it's a double-edged sword for both players in the street, where the blast zones being so small top and side are a hint of benefit for Roy, but also a benefit for Ness. So it's kind of a little bit of a Hobson's choice in terms of stage choice.
That's true. Like, you know, if they feel like they don't want to risk anything, then like this is definitely the safer picks.
And so right now we just when we see Jonestly kind of changing up his PK Thunder arcs on the ledge, I think this is a pretty smart decision because we've seen Spike consistently going low. He's never really been challenged to go high, but as I say that, the one time he does go high.
Yeah, I got hit with that tail right there. Once you get hit with that tail, it's kind of over with. You don't have no jump.
Yeah. But again, this is a very high stakes. Ooh. Good attack from Spike. But I think this just shows that both these players know there is a very, it's a high level, it's a high risk, high reward game, you know. If you lose or go home.
Yeah, so like with this wild card round, you know, if whoever loses, they're out. You know, this is basically single elimination. So.
And additionally, what we could say about this is, when looking at these players, they're familiar with each other's playstyle. So I think as this game progresses, we're going to see some more risky options coming out. Something that maybe they haven't used traditionally through games 1 through 3, or even 4 and 5.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm noticing for Spike is that, like, he, no matter what the situation, where he's winning or losing, like, he continuously, like, plays his game. Like, he doesn't worry about, like, this is too risky. Like, if that's how he plays, and he continues to play like that. As Jonestly gets the back throw there.
Yeah, and one thing that I can see is that Spike is just still kind of holding forward, even if it is necessarily in disadvantage, but it's coming to a fruition where once he does catch Jonestly in a blender, it's a quick 70% in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, both these characters are no shortage of being able to do high damage to each other. Ooh, try goes for a counter. That's the first time I've seen him doing this set.
Yeah, and
Roy's counter's not like one of the better counters in this game, but it can get the job done.
Again, we're still seeing kind of he's very trigger happy on the up B off stage. He does have to be in this matchup. It is kind of a matchup specific thing, but is there any way that Jonestly can punish that with the information that he now has throughout the course of this set?
Yeah, you're right. He has done it a few times, you know, trying to, you know, do it out of shield option, but he always lands on the platform. So, like, you know, maybe just Jonestly isn't reacting in time, or
it could be a lack of reaction. But I think what it could also be is that maybe the risk of trying to punish Roy in that kind of disadvantaged state is outweighed by the problems that it could cause later on. And it's a smart move by Jonestly. Getting back to center stage, one thing we have seen from John throughout the course of this game is a strong control of center stage, and I think that's pretty important as a Ness player. And game over, unfortunately.
so as we enter this game 7, it's, you know, set point for Jonestly. How you feel like what Spike is thinking right now? What's going through his mind?
One thing that you have to, when you're in this position, you have to just treat almost every game as if it's your last sprint. And Spike definitely knows how to play with his advantage state. Changing up the skin, maybe that has that might have something to do with like a better success chance, but you can't play afraid of Jonestly in this position because Jonestly is going for the throat.
Well, the thing is, if you win one game, you can win all of them. So, like, you have the information there. It's just really up to the player. And that's the thing about a first to 5 that's different than, like, a best of 3. Like, there's a lot of adjustment that goes on.
Yeah, and one point that I think that you hit on, Street, is that both of these players, it's not like anyone got particularly blown out. Sans game 2, where it was heavily in Spike's favor, this hasn't necessarily been an absolute blowout series. It's been very close every time, and it's come down to small interactions.
I agree. A lot of these punishes, though, that I'm seeing, though, that Spike's getting punished more, is like a lot of times he does a lot of unsafe stuff. Like, he has done F-tilt on shield quite a few times, and that has gotten him in bad situations.
Yeah, I mean, the F-tilt on shield, it almost looks like it's become a habit at this point, more so than he's like trying to go for a punish. It's something that he's very safe with going for. Good idea with the counter, but like you said, not necessarily the safest option.
That was a great angle, too, because, like, he could have easily just, like, angled over to where the center of the stage was, but he specifically angled down to where Spike was.
Yeah, and that was also a good DI mix-up in the case of Spike, because you're probably holding to get back to center stage, so you're just sending out even farther with the rocket. Right now, this game is all Jonestly.
Yeah, this is a tough spot, but Roy definitely can make these comebacks.
Now okay, so
I feel like that was being a little bit too cute, but, like, you know, when you're up this, you definitely afford to do stuff like that.
Well, yeah, when you're up by this much, you definitely can go for something like that, but I think Spike does not want to play too conservatively. Keep that all-mark aggression going, but take calculated risks. That's the biggest part that I can see in a difference between Game 1 Spike and current stage Spike.
Yeah, he can't afford to really take any too many straight hits anymore, and trades aren't really a good thing either at this point.
See, and there it is. Good. That's it. That's 5. That's it. So congratulations, Jonestly moves on to the round 2